Hi, thanks for joining us on TCM. I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Up next, part two of our double feature of romantic comedies set during the holidays. It's the only on-screen pairing of Robert Mitchum and Janet Leigh from RKO in 1949, Holiday Affair. Leigh plays a war widow with a young son who wants an electric train for Christmas. Her trip to a department store in search of the present leads her to a clerk played by Robert Mitchum, and their meeting leads to a mutual attraction. Last time I saw a department store clerk who looked anything like Robert Mitchum was the last time I saw Holiday Affair. Anyway, the problem is that Leigh is already engaged to another guy played by Wendell Corey. Mitchum plays an easygoing free spirit, while Corey's character is a more settled businessman, and Leigh finds herself torn between the two. Nothing against Wendell Corey, but good luck going up against Robert Mitchum. Holiday Affair was the first in a series of films Leigh made at RKO, which at that time was headed by Howard Hughes, well known by then as an eccentric micromanager, among other things. Hughes became obsessed with a small scar on Leigh's upper lip, a remnant of chickenpox, and he ordered the studio makeup department to cover it, but heavy makeup only made the scar more obvious, and after repeated tests, Hughes finally gave up. He also hired a private eye to follow Leigh, and then tried to convince her that her boyfriend at the time, Arthur Lowe Jr., was behind hiring the private eye. But Leigh saw through Hughes' lies, deceit, and complete creepiness, and she shut down Hughes' romantic intentions. At this point in his career, Mitchum had just weathered a storm of publicity over a marijuana bust, but Hughes stuck by him. In fact, Hughes went so far as to buy the other piece of Mitchum's contract from producer David O. Selznick. From 1949, also with Harry Morgan and child actor Gordon Gebert, Holiday Affair. When she began shooting Holiday Affair, Janet Leigh was unprepared to co-star with two practical jokers, but turns out that's what she got in Robert Mitchum and Wendell Corey. In her autobiography, Leigh wrote that she certainly remembered the scene where Mitchum kissed her for the first time. As the cameras rolled, Mitchum stepped up to plant one on Leigh's lips, but he didn't give her a movie kiss. Now, it turns out he gave her the full Bob Mitchum treatment, and Leigh could tell the difference immediately. Janet Leigh's character was supposed to look startled and unsettled when Mitchum kissed her, and Janet Leigh confessed she had absolutely no trouble displaying those emotions. Perhaps that was Mitchum's plan all along. Up next, another holiday double feature begins with a comedy about an empty mansion and a group of unlikely house guests.